So at this point in time, I'd like to call to order the Board of Trustees meeting for October 14th, 2014, 7:30 p.m. All please rise. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Trustee Hawkins?
Here.
Trustee Campbell?
Here.
Mayor Falloon?
Here.
Trustee Bowman?
Present.
Trustee Fatty?
Here.
Financial report.
Okay, I'm going to start with the budget resolution. I have one. Again. I only have one, and that's for the purchase of the Bobcat. And we're taking money and putting it to Highway Street Maintenance, $4,825. And to fund that, we're taking it from the police equipment line, $3,000, and from the snow removal equipment line of $1,825.
Any questions?
Either one of those lines, you have room to be able to take that from,
Yeah,
that's what you're saying. So-
Yeah, I took it out of the snow removal because we're going to be using the Bobcat for snow removal, and Eddie said there was not another item that he needed to purchase that, and then the police equipment had extra money in it, so I took it out of that line.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Any other discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this is a roll call vote. Trustee Hawkins?
Yes.
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Bowman?
Yes.
Trustee Fatty?
Yes.
I vote aye.
Okay, I'm going to go over the bank balances, which obviously I should say, oh no, September 30th, that's right. As of September 30th, 2014, the general fund had $1,259,356.09. The water fund had $682,879.85. The sewer fund had $306,627.20. And the trust and agency account had $13,801.73. Under capital projects, we had the sewer plant capital reserve fund had $11,354.09. The sewer plant renovations had $6,872.48. Mount Avenue Cemetery had $650. The water main relining project, $103,738.44. The Main Street paving and drainage project, $10,000. And the sewer capital projects fund, $1,594,800.52. Okay, the financial highlights. The external auditors have been in, and they have completed their field work for the 2013-14 fiscal year. They will be completing the rest of the audit work and preparing the financial statements. I'm going to work with the auditors to set up a date for them to discuss the financial statements and any audit findings with the board. I anticipate that it will probably occur sometime early December. They didn't share with me any audit comments that they might have before they left, so I'm not sure if there's going to be any or not.
Do they normally?
If they had encountered a problem, I would think they would discuss it with me before they would leave.
So no news is good news, we're assuming?
I'm assuming.
Okay.
Okay. After the balances for the bank was prepared, I received the bank statements for the general fund, which usually comes a couple of days later than all the other statements. And when I got that, I realized that the state of New York had deposited about $50,000 into our general fund account. This amount was related to $29,600 from FEMA for mitigation costs related to the relocation of the pump station, and that total amount of that grant is $109,000. The $29,000 represents 30% of that total. That money will be transferred over to the sewer fund. And then I received $18,700 from the state related to the revenue sharing. We had budgeted $16,500, which leaves us with a surplus of $2,177 in that line. And the reason that there's a surplus is because when they had originally prepared the budget, there was this extra funding that they had given us last year for state aid, and they said they were not going to give that to us again this year. And then after we did our budget, they put it back in the budget. So that's why there's that overage. Only a small amount of taxes were collected during September. I did receive the check for the sale of the Grove in the amount of $5,000, and that's been put in the bank, and there's a line item for sale of personal property, so that's been included in what you have in your paperwork. And also, I'm looking to set up a date with Noah Nadelson from Unistat Services to meet and come talk to the board regarding bonds for the general fund, the current bans that we have in the water and sewer fund, and our plans for what we're going to do with those in the future. So I would like to see if I could get something set up for maybe November for him to come in and speak to you guys. That's all I have.
Under new, where'd it go? Under new business, 14, letter D, consider computer upgrade proposal. I'd like to talk about this now while Ellen is here. Does anyone have an issue with?
No, that was going to be my question. Is that the 5,000 from the Grove earmarked for anything yet?
Well, we had talked about doing the guide wires up at the top of the hill.
I don't know that I will need all of that. I'm
Okay.
not sure. We're trying to do something else there, a little more creative and reasonable.
Okay.
But I did give a copy of the proposal to Barbara Scucciamara, I was going to say in my county report, to ask them if they had surplus equipment or if there was any way they could help us fund that
Okay.
update.
Okay. Okay. Other than that, I don't know that we've earmarked that money for anything. I would like to be cautious because we did incur some extra personnel expenses in the highway department, and, before the winter comes, it's hard to say, I anticipate that line's going to go over budget, but it's hard to anticipate how much that might go over budget, so,
What were the extra costs in the highway?
because we had to hire another employee to come in, and we had an employee out, and we were paying both salaries, because he was taking his sick and vacation time.
I don't have any idea what that is right now.
Right now, I think we're just about on budget, but one good snowstorm on a weekend, and, that could, I was thinking that the 2,000 that we have extra, to hold that aside from the revenue sharing, and hold that aside for snow removal if we do need it.
How soon do we need to get, we need to do it right away, this upgrade? ASAP?
Well,
I don't think it's,
the operating system of all of our computers isn't supported any longer. So, I mean, it's approaching the point where the software we use isn't going to be, it's not going to be scalable back to Windows XP any longer. You're going to need Windows 7 or Windows 8 or whatever the next incarnation will be.
and also I think next year we're going to have to do some work on the server, so we don't want to, we can do part of that this year and then do part of it next year, but I don't want to push too much over to next year if we have to do something with the server. I did a quick calculation. I think the Microsoft Office, if we got all that this year, that's 6. There's 5 computers. Each of the computers is going to cost us about $910 with installation. So if we could do all of the Microsoft Office this year and then do maybe 3 of the computers this year, that would be about $4,000, and then push the other 2 computers to next year.
So is this coming out of Grove, or is this coming out of
Well,
other monies?
We can take that from the retirement, because we do have some extra money in the retirement line.
We're still looking for $5,000 to repair the cupola and roof on this building, is that right?
We didn't get a quote.
I just,
Mhm.
as we're talking monies and
Mhm.
meeting monies, it's just, if it's not gonna be used for the utility poles on the top of Main, and Catherine's got most of that covered some other way, then it might be something we look
I will
at.
know by the end of the week whether I would need any, or, we had asked for 2, but I might be able to let it all go. I might just need a piece of it. I'm just not sure what the financing, what we need to pay for what we hope to do. Don't even know if we can do it yet.
I would want to speak to Anthony farther and see if he can kind of triage that list of what the most important need is right now. Because the proposal he gave us was for a full replacement of everything.
We did talk to him today, and he said we could break it up into 2 years. I think that if you buy the software, and I don't know,
The
I'm not a
site
computer person, yeah, that you would have to buy that all at once. So that, we'd have to do that at one time. Mary doesn't need a new computer, but she would need
The upgrade with the office.
with the office,
the
because she's already,
2013
she
office.
already has, she's not on
Your
XP.
machine's a year old.
Yes.
So we could get,
I'll also follow up with Barbara, quickly,
okay.
not let it linger.
I mean, if we could do it all this year, that would be,
But if we can do it in two parts, do the first part now and then.
and he said that was
later in the year.
possible. He can't guarantee the amount, things change, but he's just charging us costs, so whatever it costs him is what it would cost us, but
So half of it would be 30,
I think it would be a little bit more than half. I think it would be about
61.25?
4,000.
A little over 4.
A little over
Four change,
4,000,
yeah.
say 4,500. I do think, and going forward, I think we should try to come up with an IT line so that we have this, in the problem with buying all the computers at the same time is that then they kind of all go at the same time.
sure don't want to go to a Mac.
Yeah, really.
No.
It's not any cheaper. Less problems.
So, do we need to do this now, or do we?
Well, I think if we bring more information back for the next
Okay.
workshop, I think is probably the more prudent time to make the decision.
Okay, perfect.
I'll need more than a week.
And we can kind of get a better picture where we can
Yeah, I should be-
rob Peter
yeah.
and pay
And I
Paul.
should be getting the bill for the retirement sometime early November, I would think, because I think that the payment is due by the middle of December for that.
Okay. Anything else for Ellen? Thank you. Port of Water and Wastewater.
Water report, October 14th. While we're currently at 65% capacity in our upper and lower reservoirs, we are a little more optimistic for several reasons. First, a large leak was repaired at the end of September, dropping our daily flow to the system by almost 40,000 gallons per day. Second, October's first 2 weeks have already brought more rain than the entire month of September. As long as the trend holds out, conditions should not get worse with regard to supply. We're certainly not out of the woods yet, and conservation measures are always encouraged. With regard to our application with the DEP for a permanent, less problematic connection to their supply, a response to their concerns and notes will be delivered this week. They do not seem willing to initiate a land use permit until the review is complete. Greg Phillips. Wastewater report. The aeration replacement of electrical upgrade to the wastewater treatment plant is finally beginning to take shape. The board approved the timeline, which begins next week as we advertise the project for bids. They will be opened in early December, and hopefully the engineer's recommendations for awarding the project by early January 2015. If awarded, the contracts could be signed in late January or early February. Potentially groundbreaking could begin March of 2015, depending on weather. We have finally received an approval from DEC to utilize the Glendulant for the sludge bagging system piloted in fall of 2013. The sludge bag last year has dried substantially to approximately 85% solids versus the 2 to 3% solids when hauled in liquid form. We're having a sludge cake analyzed to ensure that we are not toxic contaminants. None are expected to in this type of municipal sludge, and then it will be disposed, find a disposal site. The West Street Pump Station project involves the moving of controls, electrical service, and the emergency generator to the village-owned property on New Street out of the flood zone. We're in the final stages of reviewed by the PCDOH engineering and hope to have permission granted by the month's end. Greg Phillips.
Any questions?
You went down on that site, right? Looked at with Central Hudson. Where are they putting it on New Street? Is it?
The actual station is still marked out. It's you'll see 4 stakes up near, I think it's 16 by 16 New Street near the intersection, closer to the intersection of Market Street. The biggest conversation we had is how to lay the pipe in the ground. The original line of piping is supposed to be in the edge of the excavation for the cleanup, coal tar sludge cleanup. So one of the ideas was to put our pipe in temporarily with slack so it can be moved. And again, the electrician doesn't think that's a good idea, so they may be looking at just maybe placing them across the street near the curb line, which would completely stay away from the cleanup. It doesn't really change anything because either way you're going to have to cross from the station to New Street and then straight up, or just go straight up and across. So it's still pretty positive. They're just going to reevaluate and talk further with the engineers, the electrician, and the engineers that are designing the bid spec for the cleanup. So there doesn't appear that it's going to be, and there may be some potential to bury lines at the same time to maybe remove a pole or two, but that was between the engineers in Central Hudson. We don't know anything further, but of course we encourage them to do so. But so there should be no problems there. And as Ellen said, some of the money came in already, so we're in pretty good shape. The other thing we want to consider either a total ban or a voluntary ban on outdoor water use. This month, the last 3-4 weeks has been completely optimistic to Greg between the major leak found and fixed, the rain that came in the last 2 weeks, and the rain that's allegedly coming in the next week. So we could, if you want to consider doing a voluntary ban for the rest of the month, or do a solid ban now. I think it would be it would reinforce our support of Greg if we did at least a voluntary ban. But what are your thoughts?
I'll make a motion to institute a voluntary ban on outdoor water use.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion?
That's fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Are you gonna post notice?
Yes.
Okay.
Post it to the website.
Anywhere else?
I don't know, we usually put it in the paper.
Yeah, Mary. What do we usually?
Just wanna make sure people know,
Mhm.
that's all.
And I'll include a news blast
Yes.
email.
Yes.
Okay. Report of code enforcement.
You have the report in front of you for the month of September. I think most of the report is self-explanatory. We were kind of consumed with doing inspections in regard to complaints and some permits. A couple of the complaints that the board expressed interest in was the smoke complaint at Benedict and Marion Avenue. I've been on top of that several times. I've talked to a couple neighbors. The only person that seems to have any complaint is the one person that complained. I talked to a couple people, they didn't notice it as being, so I don't know if it's unique because the smoke is right at that person's house, but there are several open burns in the area for, the backyard fire pits and so on. So I don't know what it's from. It's from a chimney or whatever, but right now I can't find anybody but the person that complained. Okay, and I know that was rather extensive to the board. Couple things, the gas station, soon to be a Dunkin' Donuts, the clothing bins were removed, as were a couple of things that they had added on, were like a vacuum cleaner, which wasn't on it. So now we're back to the point that they look like they're starting to comply, and the construction is going towards the site plan approval. Okay. Those were the key ones. 33 Fair Street, apparently may be a new owner, and they're working to clean up the site and make it compliant. It's the old dealership. A couple of other things. I do urge the board to review the permit duration process. Right now, it's kind of up in the air. It's under the old provision, which is 6-month permit and 3-month renewals. However, the fee schedule is really centered around a 1-year permit with a 1-year renewal, so it gets rather expensive. So we have an option of either correcting the duration or changing the fee schedule again. So we'd have to look at that. Okay, that's the board. Couple of the other things is that I did leave with the mayor's photographs of Main Street back in September. I've been getting complaints from various board members that the streets are pretty cluttered on the weekends. Mostly there's signs, and that does go back to the sign ordinance. Okay, as far as compliant with the merchandise rule, they appear to be in compliance. I didn't say it was done tastefully, but it's in compliance with the 3-foot rule with the 8-foot by 6-foot window in front of the businesses. Sign ordinance is a major consideration. Again, we were fairly active, mostly in inspections, and I noticed there's only one permit being shown, but the first week of October, I think we've done substantially more than that. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, when did you most recently receive the complaint about Benedict and Marion?
I haven't received anything in October.
Smoke.
Yeah, it was September, the early part, when the emails were going around. But I kept checking on it because I was concerned as to why we smell and smoke. The problem is there's several houses on Constitution, and some of the houses along Marion have fireplaces. And when I did speak to the one neighbor up there very specifically, he said that the one house burns the fireplace regularly year-round. So that's maybe the problem, but that person didn't find it offensive. So I guess it's in the eyes of the beholder as to whether it's offensive or not.
Have you ever smelled it yourself?
I smelled smoke. I didn't, but I could stand on Main Street and smell smoke.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is if somebody has a problem with smoke, okay, asthma or some kind of.
But I thought this wasn't just fireplace smoke. This was a certain.
Well, they
kind
said it
of
was garbagey
an
smelling.
incinerator type smell.
Yeah, they thought it was garbage. I didn't smell it as such. If you burn a wet, the flue's wet and the wood's wet, it gets kind of a sour odor to it. But again, this person that I did speak to actually had one of the houses with a fireplace directly behind him, and he didn't have any offense to it. I guess, again, the person may be sensitive to smoke.
About the updates to the Chapter 40 code last week, you said that was something that we would discuss on the 28th. Is that still
Yeah, absolutely.
okay?
20,
On the 28th, Tuesday? Are you working?
no, you want to do the 21st or 28th? 28th? Doesn't matter.
28th? That's fine.
Yep, okay.
That's in regard to the duration, right?
That's it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll take up the signs also.
You
Yeah.
want to do signs that night also?
Yeah, let's at
Yeah.
least touch.
Yeah,
Start
because I mean,
making
they
progress.
seem to have dwindled up at the intersection. They're not as many as they used to be.
Yeah, well,
And,
'tis the season. Elections are coming.
yeah, elections are, unless they're a nuisance, they have the right to post them. So we dealt with them, we deal with them as a nuisance. If they're not a nuisance, it's not a problem.
Where'd you leave that?
Well,
We had 3 sample codes that you sent to us, and then
I just
it
need
just
some.
kind of died out.
Well, I
You
need
want
some
us to-
direction from the board as to what you guys want. You
The
tell me.
parameters,
Yeah,
the
I mean,
height,
you
the width.
you guys tell me what you find to be appropriate, and then we can draft it up.
Okay, can you just resend that
Yeah, sure.
with the comments of what we need to?
Well, I'll resend some of the samples. But at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you guys to
Sure.
figure out what you like.
Right, but as a reminder, if you.
Oh yeah,
so we
yeah,
know.
definitely.
Thank you. Anything else?
Just one thing I forgot to add on here is there was a complaint about 60 Parsonage Street. I believe you, Duffy's.
Oh, right.
Yeah, what do you call it? They've submitted an application
Okay.
on those repairs they made.
Oh, good.
And we're going to hold them to doing it the right way, not the way they did.
Perfect.
Okay.
I noticed. I mean, they did a little cleaner.
They did cleaning.
No, they did.
They didn't do it well, but they did
No,
cleaning.
they did.
Okay, other than that, that's about it. We were able to resolve quite a bit, and a lot of stuff is just pending determinations by the board and legal, if, way things should be handled.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Report of Highway, month of September, Highway Department picked up 52.36 tons of garbage, 16.47 tons of recycling. New sidewalks and curbs were put in on Parrott Street, opened up water line on Bang Street, rebuilt a catch basin on Grandview. Bagged and leaves brush were picked up on the 17th, cleaned and worked on the subway, putting in dry lock to stop water leaks. Cut sidewalks around the trees in front of Whistling Willie's. Fixed hydraulic leak on garbage truck. Worked on discharge pipes for catch basins on Campbell and Paulding. Put up a fence at the dock. That's, I guess, it's replacement that they took down for the 4th of July. Okay. Put up 2 new do not enter signs for West Street one way. New bench riverfront. Fixed chains and bearings on a sander. Disinfected and washed garbage trucks. Parrott and Grandview streets were prepared to be paved. Inter-County was used to pave both streets. They did a great job. They actually really did do a nice job up there. At the beginning of the year, we had some complaints. The sidewalks were kind of a mess up there. So we did, Parrott Street got some attention this fall. There were some dangerous curbing, and sidewalk was fixed. The paving came out really, really nice. There was a flooding condition that was reported to us on Stone Street that they're going to try to address tomorrow. Any questions for Highway?
Cedar Street Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing with it?
The rocks were moved back to be in line with the rest of the rocks there, and moved away from the footstones, headstones, and that's it.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that we need to move the stones back to the edge of the road and do away with whatever parking we created along there, because it's a liability for us. It's, solving Haldane's parking problem shouldn't be our issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we have no idea what the boundary of the cemetery is, and I don't want cars parking on top of people.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm willing to make a motion that we task the highway crew to move the boulders back to the road edge and do away with our parking areas that we created.
Okay, the boulders were moved to be in line with what they are for the rest of the street. So I'm assuming if the boulders are
Well, who put the original boulders there?
Highway Department.
And I mean, did we use a survey when we did that, or I mean?
I wasn't there. I don't know when they did that.
Yeah, I know it's before us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what year they did that, but it
And I mean, I haven't been in that cemetery in 5 or 6 years,
Yeah.
and just walking through there now, you can see where, I mean, the pavement's getting farther and farther and farther into the burial ground. And I mean, if you look at the old maps, the boundary of the cemetery was right on Cedar Street. So I mean, now we're getting to the point where we're paving over.
And then the second part, there was no desire to create parking for Haldane. My main goal was to create parking to keep people from parking in front of the residents. I'm there nearly every day, and it's really frustrating to see how the people are parking in front of the residents along those local streets, and so in an effort to see, find a place to create some more parking, to create hope that people wouldn't park in front of the residents. That was just a decision I made with Ed. So, I stand by mine, but please feel free if you want to make a motion and
Has there been utility work along
There was the utility work when they had to put in a new water main to feed the new building. So
And
that was
where-
before us.
Yeah, do you know where that is in proximity to the boundary of the?
Well, all of the utility work was done within the roadway. We can't speak to whether after they repaired it, if the road got wider or not.
Is there a way to sort of identify where that is and?
Ed would probably know.
Well, yeah, the utilities are definitely the utilities wouldn't. It would be whether they repaved. So I don't know if we can. I don't know that answer.
Because I think it's worthwhile being, finding parking where we can. So I think it's worth actually, investigating to
Absolutely.
see before we make a decision to just, remove that stretch entirely. We certainly want to be considerate of not
It's kind
considerate of the
a,
graveyard, but we
a
want to.
slippery slope though, because without doing having the SHPO come down and do a dig of some sort to figure out where the boundaries of the cemetery are,
Well, let's
Unless we're
find
gonna-
out what's involved, and and then we can figure out if there are costs.
Yeah,
If there are costs involved that we don't want to invest, we're spending on money on lighting, and we're spending
Yeah, I
money
did-
in other places, and
Costs
if
involved
this
with
is
what?
important, costs involved with asking other people are you saying SHPO shouldn't come because it would cost money, or you think it's just not a
I
worthwhile?
don't think we'd be happy with what SHPO found.
I do have a contact for Putnam County that handles the cemeteries.
Oh, and will this be
There should be a-
documented? And
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Should be
great.
some-
Let's-
Sorry.
Yeah, so I'll definitely start there. And again, look,
There's got to be an old survey somewhere too.
yeah, and I'll that person was more than willing to come over and meet and walk around, so I'll reach out to them and start there.
Great.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Thanks, Ron.
Report of Police Department. Village of Cold Spring Police Department responded to over 90 calls for service during the month of September 2014. While enforcing vehicle and traffic laws in a village, officers issued 50 tickets to motorists for various violations ranging from speeding in a school zone to stop sign violations. Additionally, officers issued 57 parking violations to vehicles, including those that were in violation of overtime parking regulations, section 126-18 of the code. During the weekend of September 27th, the Cold Spring Police turned out an extra officer to conduct foot patrol due to the increased pedestrian traffic in the village. Many thanks and praises were given to OIC Kane, as many merchants and tourists were happy to see Officer walking on Main Street. Officer Kane requested the rest of his memo be read in executive session. So we will get back to that. Yep.
Can I ask why?
I do not know why.
Because it seems like it's just a recommendation to hire.
It is, and I think he asked. I got a text this afternoon. I didn't speak to him personally about this, and I think what we can do is. Basically, I'm assuming what's included down here is his resume. So,
I mean, if we were going to interview this individual, I would agree that needs to be done in executive session.
Sure.
But this is the recommendation of Officer Kane.
yeah. So what I'm going to ask is, guys, take a peek at this. I know we've had some clashes, so take a peek at his resume. Give me your feelings on the resume itself and the need for hiring an officer, and your feelings on the ability to have an interview, and I'll take it from there.
Do we want?
You have the ability.
Yes, we do.
It's there.
Yes,
Just
we
in
do.
case if there's a question,
The ability to.
go into executive session. That's up to you whether you decide to do it. But you have the grounds.
Sure.
If you
Well, I mean,
decide.
there's much more to discuss regarding the police department in executive session than
Right.
hiring a officer.
So
Right, but if we're being asked, as like last time, we were asked to consider a prospective,
yeah.
officer, we're being asked to consider the resume and come to a consensus about
Right.
interviewing him or hiring him. So
Right.
think
I
it's
haven't
a
had a
worthwhile
chance
discussion.
to look over his resume, speak to him, or know if the background searches come back. So even if
you want to put off that.
yeah, so I mean, even if we did go in executive session, I don't have all the information that you would could be potentially asking me, and I just it would be a waste of your time and mine. So
Do you think we'll have that next week?
absolutely,
Okay, good.
which is why I mean
Are we gonna have the other things that we asked for in our last meeting about the police?
correct.
So,
Policies,
am I allowed to
procedures.
talk about this, in terms of the conduct manual and things of that nature?
Yeah, I don't have a quote prepared. I obtained a couple copies of different police departments' policies and procedures and codes of conduct, and I don't have a price yet. I'm just trying to put something together that I think is reasonable, both fair to the village and then fair to me, because it could get, it could be a black hole, which I don't really want to be too involved in.
Is that a quote you think you can get to us for our
Yeah,
meeting next week?
Definitely. It just took a couple days to get copies of other people's, policy procedures. We could go from, this thin to the NYPD, And at the end of the day, we have a police department, so it almost doesn't matter how big it is. It could be one police officer, but your policies and procedures could be. So part of the art is putting something together that is reasonable for what goes on, and then trying to figure out how much that's going to cost to do, and it's not just sitting there and typing.
And your contract is up, or it needs to be renegotiated, or, how are we?
I did a retainer, and I haven't looked at the retainer I prepared back in 2013. I'm not quite sure how I haven't looked at it since last year, so I'll re-examine that and we can take a look at it.
Because the contract was approved on 9/11 of last year, so I think we're like a month.
Yeah.
out. So, are we just working under the?
I recall when we entered into the retainer with you, it was for the rest of the
year,
the fiscal year.
Right.
And so we've just been
It's
going
just been
month to month since.
Right.
Okay.
Month to month since the end of the fiscal year this year. Yeah.
I have a question. Do we not have any basic policy and procedure document to use as a starting point?
Oh, no, there are.
Yeah. For the PD.
Yeah,
Where's that?
there are.
Yeah, and we'll have them to compare with.
Yeah, and there's nothing to say that that
Yeah,
we
we
don't
when
have to
we're-
start from scratch.
Right,
I'm
when we're
just
looking
trying
at
to.
it, we may like
Yeah,
or may not.
I think we won't.
depends what town it's from.
Anything, anything else from the police?
It's from the old Nelsonville PD.
Anything else for police? Justice Court? Mike, would you read that, please? Or somebody?
September 2014 monthly report, fines, forfeited bails, and civil penalties, $850. Parking tickets, $2,720. Civil fees, $408. Mandatory state surcharges, $954, for a grand total of $4,932. A check in the above amount is submitted herewith. Respectfully yours, Thomas J. Costello, Village Justice. Justice Court Fund, let's see. Distribution summary of all reports received by us from the Village Court for the month of August 2014. Alan Steiner, 0. Thomas Costello, $4,040. Total court receipts, $4,040. Cold Spring Village Court summary report of cases started. Let's see. Number of DWIs, 0. Number of AUOs, 0. Number of speeds, 8. Number of defendants, 40. Total number of charges, 51. Average charges per defendant, 1.28. And number of small claims, 1.
Any questions? Okay. Additional monthly reports, liaison, Recreation Commission.
The Recreation Commission, there's limited report this month. They really had just one request for a birthday party at Mayor's Park this Saturday, the 18th, which they approved. It's 12 to 6 p.m. And that's pretty much it from Rec as far as an approval that we have to agree to as well. So I'll make a motion that we accept this application for the birthday party at this Saturday.
Second.
Discussion?
I think someone has to move the motion first and then second.
I thought that Bruce just made a motion.
Did you make the motion?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, sorry.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And the only other piece of business from Rec, and they haven't seen this yet, but it's something that happened last year, meaning Park has a letter to us to have their candlelight on the 6th, Saturday the 6th, and ask that the tree lighting be the same night. It used to be on Friday the 5th. So I just wanted to bring it up to our board.
Didn't we change it last year?
We did change it last year.
And it worked out well, yes?
Yeah, but Rec hasn't seen this yet, so I just figured I'd bring it up to us if there's any problems with it. And
Yeah.
then I'll send it back down to Jeff, but
That
Do
worked
we,
well, yeah?
Yeah, what
I think it
day is
worked.
December
The
6th.
6th?
It's
December 6th, Saturday, so it's the tree lighting is the same night as the candlelight, so it sort of brings those two events together.
Did we decide if we're doing the tree in the bandstand or at the foot of Main Street? Are we doing both?
Well, the Rec's gonna do the tree at the bandstand. I'm not sure about the lighting committee, whether or not they're still looking at maybe a tree at the bottom of Main Street.
We are. We have a donated tree.
Yeah. So there might be 2 trees this year, yeah. Cool.
Very nice.
So,
Do we,
no
does that need
any
any kind of action? Or
No, I just want to make sure there's no objection to it, and I'll bring it back down to Rec,
none at all?
and then I can let Rand know she's with the chamber anyway, so, just so she has a pretty good idea that there's no problem.
Planning and zoning?
I'll do zoning quick. The Zoning Board of Appeals will continue a public hearing this Thursday night. The public hearing was open on October 2nd to hear applicants who seek a variance for a 6-foot metal fence at 15 Parrott Street. The meeting will be Thursday at the Village Hall at 7 p.m. For the Planning Board, our Planning Board last met September 17th and agreed to forward the Butterfield site plan to the Historic District Review Board for its review. At that same meeting, 4 of 5 members were surprised to learn from council that concerns about mass and scale could not be addressed at the site plan review because the adopted B4A zoning amendment and concept plan foretold the size of the buildings allowed by law. Planning Board members said that during seeker of the B4A zoning amendment, they were told to wait until the site plan review to address their concerns about mass and scale, and their counsel, Anna Giorgio, told them that they were advised instead to express their concerns in a memo to the village board. The planning board then took counsel from attorney Anna Giorgio in a closed session. In light of this disagreement, at last week's village board meeting, the mayor said he would hold a joint meeting of the village board and the planning board to be held next week. However, that decision was reconsidered, and instead a letter of clarification from Anna Giorgio and Barton and LaJudas was preferred by the mayor. And today, the village board and the planning board received that letter. I don't know if my colleagues have had a chance to look that over yet. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. So perhaps we can discuss that next week.
Sounds good.
Okay. Great. And the next meeting of the planning board will be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. here at the Village Hall. Town of Phillipstown. Nothing further except plans are moving forward with the Fjord Trail. And so my question to you about rec is that whether they're resolved with the plans for Mayor Park. I mean,
I didn't get any kind of comment from that from the last time they brought up the one little parking issue they had.
okay.
Yeah, I believe that they were
That
down
was
to just
resolved.
the parking, and I believe Greg's, and check with him, please, but I believe his statement was like, the parking
It'll
spaces.
resolve itself.
Yeah, we
Uh-huh.
can, so,
Okay, great.
yeah.
Is it supposed to go out to bid soon,
Yeah, it was that meeting
Right.
was in anticipation of it going to bid. So I just
Yeah, so if you just follow up, but I'm pretty sure it's
Okay,
ready to go.
great. Thanks.
The letter from Wurmser, Kylie, Galef, and Jacobs, that, Mike, is that privileged? I mean, we can't read that into the public record.
It's the attorney-client privilege works as follows. You have the right to maintain that privilege as long as you don't share it with anybody. If you share it with anyone, then you lose the privilege. So that's basically how it works. And it's up to you guys. If you're going to share it, it'd be nice if there was a determination by the board members as a whole to share it. But if you're going to share it individually, then that's up to you too. But that's not not the preferred method. But certainly, the penalty is that it's no longer private.
The letter
And
from
I say this without I haven't read the letter yet. It was forwarded to me, but I have not seen it. It doesn't mean anything that I haven't seen it. Just I don't know what it says, and
So why don't we wait? Do you want to wait to make that determination
Yeah,
until
I
next
haven't
week
seen
so
it.
we can all discuss?
Yeah.
I read
Yeah.
the applicable parts to what our role was in the B4A zoning amendment, and I think it's important that it's very clear as to what our role was and what the history of the whole project was from day one. So I mean, if you guys want to wait till next week to make the determination, that's fine. But
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
don't
haven't
see
read
any
it.
reason to withhold it.
I share Mike's interest in sharing it publicly, but I defer to, I mean, I'd like to hear from our colleagues before we do so. So, next week.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather not be the first time I hear it, to be honest with you, but
Yeah. Okay.
Chamber of Commerce?
Chamber. It's really, oops, thank you. There's just a couple of events. Our next mixer is at Glenwood next Thursday, October 23rd at 6:30. Tickets are $25 for members, $30 for non-members. There will be a discussion about sustaining local businesses during the winter months. We have particular interest in having non-members contribute to the discussion and welcome the attendance by all of the community. On October 25th, we are sponsoring an annual Halloween celebration. Festivities start at St. Mary's Lawn and conclude at the bandstand. Our holiday party will be held at the Chalet on the Hudson on December 11th. Tickets are $35 for members, $40 for non-members, $325 for a table of 10. We'll once again hold a silent auction and are already starting to solicit contributions in items and services. And as everyone probably knows, they have a tag sale set up in Cold Spring this coming Saturday, 17th. So that's it, just events from the chamber.
HDRB?
Applications. As construction season slows, our agendas are thinning a bit. We continue to see window replacements most frequently and expect to do so through the fall as residents prepare for the cold months ahead. We have 2 workshops of note scheduled this month. The first, held after our monthly meeting, is for 24 Paulding Avenue. The project will restore the 3rd floor lost many years ago to fire and will require zoning review as well. ZBA Chair Marie Early attended our workshop to ensure that the 2 boards' review of the project is as efficient as possible. We are very excited indeed to see a restoration project proposed for one of the village's most historically and architecturally significant properties. We will hold the first workshop for the Butterfield redevelopment site plan and design proposals on 10/22. The applicant has delivered copies of supporting materials which are available for public review from the village clerk. Current work, 1, a draft RFP for the design standards update has been reviewed by our board and submitted to the village attorney and SHPO staff for review as required by the grant contract. We will post it as soon as we have sign off from those parties. A second letter of agreement is being drafted for review by those same parties related to Bill Hurst's work on the ordinance update. 2, we have commented on the planning board chair's draft for a consolidated land use application and will meet in joint session with the planning and zoning boards on the topic later this month. And 3, we are progressing with our own application update. A draft has been reviewed by the village attorney and returned to board members for revision and further comment. We hope that together our new application and the consolidated land use application will go a long way toward improving the public's understanding of process and ease of use. Respectfully submitted, Kathleen Foley, Vice Chair.
Putnam County?
Putnam County, I would like to present you with a check for $7,500.
Not me personally, please.
Awesome. I'll present us with it. That is the result of the letter on the big bellies. It's basically, if we can buy the 2 and use the rest for overtime, but there it is.
Is that in addition to our partnership?
No,
That is it.
That is a partnership.
that is.
So we've already.
Because the budget is done, they're doing budget now, so, I'm asking for money now for next year. I've already asked for it to be included in the budget for next year, but that was, I don't know whether they,
I'm sorry, this is money against next year's budget?
no, that's this
Oh,
year, but I
this
have
is
to
the
ask
money
for
that-
next year, so we couldn't get more than the 7,500 this year.
And this is.
Because I guess they just sort of kept the line from last year, but there's no restriction on its use.
Right.
The letter went out requesting specifically that we buy the big bellies with it.
But we've budgeted for that money over the years to pay for other things.
And we never used it for that.
Never used for what?
I'll follow up with Ellen to see with.
We never spent $7,500 in overtime in the course of a year for picking up garbage.
It's not, the money isn't for overtime.
Yeah, $7,500 for Big Bellies, that's what I asked for. That's what we got. I asked for a computer upgrade or donated software or machines. Tourism is going to donate to the Holiday Lighting Fund. To what degree, I don't know yet. And I had a conversation about a disability grant for handicapped accessibility, because we all talk about walkability, but some people can't. And if there's a way to pay for people to be able to get up and down our sidewalks without it being a part of our grant program, our CHI grant, then, we can see if we can get some money for that. That's county.
Boat club,
Nothing from the boat club this month.
fire company.
Yeah. The Cold Spring Fire Report for July to September. Hello, Trustee Bowman. Sorry for the delay over the past few months. We've had our hands full. As of today, October 6, 2014, we've had 89 calls, 17 calls in July, 12 calls in August, and 16 in September. July calls were 9 false alarms, 1 structure fire, 1 wires down, 2 car accidents, 1 car fire, 1 mutual aid, 1 hazardous condition. August, we had 12 calls, 2 car accidents, 3 lost persons, 6 false alarms, 1 EMS assist. September, 16 calls, 1 mutual aid, 3 car accidents, 2 CO detectors, 4 false alarms, 3 EMS assists, and 3 search for lost hikers. Any questions, please feel free to contact me, Josh DiNardo, Chief. I also have a letter from them that they want read as part of their liaison report. We thank you for attending our monthly board meetings and reporting back to the village board for us. The past few months, we have not had anything to report about the progress with the plans for a new firehouse. In July, we had an issue with the central air conditioning, which was not working properly in the meeting room. The village office had to contact Comfort Master to come and look into the problem. Thank you to Mary Surrey for taking care of this in a timely manner, as it was the week of our annual Junior Fire Academy. Comfort Master was able to fix the problem, but advised us, as they did a year ago, that the unit was due for replacement soon. No exact numbers for the replacement costs were given, but in conversation, the repairman mentioned we could be looking at over $12,000. Fire company, as well as the taxpayers, are concerned with what direction we are heading, a new building or major repairs to the existing building. There are other major repairs at 154 Main Street that have been put off due to the talk of a new firehouse. Some of those issues are a new heating system, major repairs to the meeting room floor that was cracked, a new roof in the near future, as we believe that the last roof was put on this building nearly 25 years ago. The fire company has also put off the purchase of a new air system to fill our air bottles due to the fact that we would like to buy the correct one to fit into our existing building, and it's a repaired existing building or a new building. There are probably other repairs to the building and property that will need to be addressed soon as well. We'd like to know if our liaison or one of the other village board members could start looking at ideas for funding of a new firehouse, specifically through some type of grant which could help lower the cost on the taxpayers. By receiving funds through grants and plans being accepted for a new firehouse, we can push for real project numbers to give to the village board, and then you can have an idea of how to fund construction and approach taxpayers to have the project put to a vote. Thank you, the new Firehouse Committee and the Cold Spring Fire Company, number 1. Just a quick addendum to their report. The amount of hiking calls and mountain calls that the fire department has been called out on, including one 2 nights ago at 1:30 in the morning that kept them out till 5 a.m. And the individual that they rescued, they carried off the mountain and then refused medical care and got in their car and left. It's getting to the point of, ridiculousness. So,
Can we have a, paid ambulance, can have paid rescue?
I spoke to the assistant chief, and they're looking into, talking to the state about whether they can bill for these calls or something like that.
so.
So, just to keep you aware.
Yeah, the state law doesn't allow fire departments to bill.
Yeah.
But does it have to be the fire department then? Because, I mean, there are.
Well, what
if-
happens
if
is
you're
the
out in
ambulance
middle
corps
of
can
the-
bill them, but they can't bill for the fire department time.
Mhm.
So I don't know the answer to that. The state, for the longest time, we got zero money for them. At least, we're getting some tax money, but, I don't know what the answer. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, it's
I mean,
very,
Sunday,
very frustrating.
Sunday afternoon on my way up to Beacon, I saw the Metro North train let out at the breakneck stop, and I mean, I stopped counting after like 300 people, and it was like a parade of people going up breakneck. I mean, being an avid hiker, I don't even see the enjoyment in that any longer because I mean,
crowded.
It's like
literally
waiting
crowded.
online for a roller coaster. I mean, and it has to have an environmental impact on the trail as well because last time I was up there, the amount of trash and the erosion, I mean, it's getting more and more unsafe as we go along. So, I mean, the state parks, if they, Bill Bauman or anybody else who watches these videos, talk to your boss because it's getting crazy.
The Association of Fire Districts has for years now has been making a push with the state legislature for the districts to be able to bill for ambulance service, and it's common knowledge that if you have medical insurance, that the insurance company will pay for the ambulance, and that'll be great until the insurance companies just decide to get rid of that coverage. The bigger issue is that police and fire are always the subject of general taxation. And because of that, imprimatur of state law, that's a cost to, that's just a cost that gets passed along to the taxpayers. The detriment is having a park anywhere near you. What do you guys, what are you supposed to do?
I mean, the amount of resources that are now being used.
Consumed.
I mean, we had 2 helicopters out on one call, and I mean, that has a cost.
And they were state police helicopters, so you all are
Yeah.
paying for that.
Yeah, and so Breakneck is a state park, right?
Breakneck and Bull Hill are part of Hudson Highlands State Park.
Yeah. So essentially, we'd need them to charge a fee to pay.
And that's the other option to look into is a day use permit or
Right,
something like that, like
right.
they do in Minnewaska or somewhere.
Right, something to offset that cost.
But in that case, would is the assumption that the fee assessed be then shared with the municipality that?
Oh yeah, it'd be
bears the brunt?
essentially when I don't know too many parks that charge the fees, but the anticipation would be if we're spending X amount of time and resources, which is you can calculate, the fire department
Oh,
can
yeah.
calculate what that is. That'd be that plus a percentage would be a payback to the municipality for the services that are rendered.
Yeah, the fire department is entitled to payback for superstorms. Anytime there's a
But those are the federal.
those right.
And these are just the calls that reach a certain threshold. There's also, God knows how many just lost people that
The state themselves.
the state themselves have the
Deals
rangers
with.
go and help or talk off the mountain.
Yeah.
But those are those calls aren't calls that the village is responsible for, correct?
Depends on the manpower that
Correct.
happens
So it
to be
depends
around
on
that
who
day.
is who responds.
Right. If the sheriff's department, if the 911 center receives a lost hiker call, they will automatically turn it over to Bill Bauman and the State Park Police, who will talk them or send their people to assist them. The Sunday evening one somehow ended up with State Police. State Police started to search themselves and then said, well, the fire department does this all the time, why don't we use them? The good thing about it is the resources were already in place, the helicopter was already there, so it made our life simpler, but it still was.
Does
just a waste of time.
Dutchess Junction ever respond to those, or is it always us because we're closer and we have
Well,
better staff?
right, what happens is that the section in Dutchess Junction is less harsh, and they usually end up going breakneck too, coming over to our side. And our side is far steeper and far more vast because it goes all the way out behind the school. And I mean, we had one that ended up in Dutchess County, they just kept walking. So Dutchess Junction doesn't handle any, and when they do, a lot of times they call us to help them. So it's just City Beacon, they refuse.
Oh, really?
They turn it over to the town of Fishkill. So I mean, it's
I
just
think Seal says we're running out of time.
We are? We gotta go?
Are we done?
Let's go home. Go ahead,
Motion
please
to
change your tape.
adjourn?
So, the second part of that, do we want to, with the fire department, I just give one comment that comes to mind. The fire department, I believe the fire department has some onus on the grant programs. If you look at how we do things here, the HDRB went out and found their grants, NYSERDA, so I don't know. I'm very supportive of the fire department getting grants, but I know the last time that I looked into grants as a president of a fire company. So, as far as I think they need, to at least take, a huge role in this.
I have no problem working alongside of
Sure.
them, but like you say, when I was president of the fire company, I was out there looking for grants,
Sure.
and Danny Valentine goes out for the fire prevention and finds a lot of money. So I have no problem working with them and trying to see what's out there.
Right. And unfortunately, the reality is I don't want to spend money on a building that is existing and falling apart. But in the grand scheme of things, it's easier to find 12,000 than it is to find, 3, 4, 5 million, whatever the cost is. And again, not that that is a great game plan, but I don't know whether we want to workshop with them or let them come through with the plan they think they now want to go with and the cost. The last time, there was this toss-up, they thought maybe they would go somewhere else. And I think, it was clear that, the public said, hey, we think you're better where you are. They realize that, maybe that's, so I think they have the clear direction of that location. So I think it would be in their best interest to have the proposal that they think they want to push with the as close to accurate numbers as they think it's going to be. And then we can, I think, now is the closest we've been to, hey, which direction are we going? So
I'll ask them if they want to sit down and have a workshop. with
right,
us.
or if they just want to, send us a proposal and what we, how we want to take it from there. So I think that's what
Just
happened with it.
one more thing
Yep.
that came to mind. Did we ever, I know we addressed the downspout on the back of the firehouse.
Yep.
But before the winter comes, are we still looking at?
Eddie did some repair on that, so.
The electric tape, you mean, like the?
Yeah, well, they put the
Something
downspout
for the
back
ice.
on the rear, but the ice dam was the big problem.
Right.
He was gonna put some electrical lines through it, those lines that keep
Mhm.
heat on the pipe constantly throughout the winter months.
Can you check and see if they did?
I think-
That way, Mr. Heffernan, we can tell him that we've tried our best going into the winter.
Now, do they have a file on I know Comfort Master came in for this repair on the AC unit. Do they have a file? It's a fairly old unit, and they probably don't have any information.
No, they do not.
So we probably should get some pricing on that, otherwise it's gonna run a $12,000 bill next year. Or could.
Yeah, I think,
It's
know,
been the last 2 or 3 years in
Yeah.
a row, and it seems to be the same week of the summer every year. It's the week before
week
the
before
Fire
Fire
Academy
Academy.
when people are actually back there
and they
using.
even changed the date, and it still happened that week. This is crazy. For me, I think the next generation of AC units may be the way to go to with the split units that have the
Mitsubishi ones.
the Mitsubishi to have the the efficiency, the rebates, and it also has the heat pump. So we can, with the amount of money we save, we could try not to burn in oil would be tremendous for us. So either way, with those two units that we talk about, heating and AC, it doesn't matter if we broke ground tomorrow. You're going to go through. If you started to plan tomorrow, you're still going to at least 2 more seasons. So, that is just infrastructure that you have to have no matter what. So, if you get back to them. Any other questions, Fire Department? Parking Committee?
Parking. I met with Catherine McLaughlin from Sandy Galiff's office. We developed a timeline. The legislature doesn't meet until January, and this probably wouldn't, happen until April of next year. But there's a lot of data that I have to gather because, we're looking at increased employees in stores, increased traffic on every level. So, we have what we believe is a really good argument for the resident parking permit, and we're going forward with that. As I said, I'm even going to, talk to Libby about tourism and the pressures of tourism, and see what, if she can give me some numbers. I can get numbers from the booth and Michael's 200 people by the side of the road. It's a lot of pressure on the side street parking here.
Can tourism give us money for our fire rescue?
I don't know.
Hikers who need rescue?
I don't know.
Ask her.
The one-way street. Did we get the actual one-way signs yet? Does anybody? I have not had a chance to get down there.
Thought it was in the report.
No, that's last month when he put the no entering
No entering.
signs. But because it's confusing, people are parking facing both directions, the same direction. I don't think they really know which way they can park down there. The other thing is the committee would really like to see the list of non-code dependent signs looked into. So I think you have that list. And they really would like the lines painted, unpainted, so to speak, at Town Hall. It's not a village road, and there was no clear authorization, and so that's their request.
Have we heard from the Department of Transportation?
They went down with the traffic safety crew. They walked that entire site. They went into that driveway of the Harrisons. They believe that those lines should have been there. They were there. They were just brightened up a little bit, and they fall into DOT code for being 15 feet from a hydrant.
Okay.
They're even looking at saying the rest of the cars behind that to the next street into Nelsonville might be looked at, but then it would be approval from Nelsonville, the town, and the village. So it got a little deeper than it was supposed to get, so.
That's all right, as long as it's not our road or our work to do, so as long as the people who are
Did,
supposed to pay for it do it.
Was that an email? That was.
That was just a follow-up conversation that I had, because I didn't know that the DOT safety team was gonna get a hold of me when they
Okay.
came to the village, and to go over that plus the Haldane area, Craigside. I found out the day later that they were here and they visited, and then I waited a few more days, I waited a week, and then I finally called them to say, hey, what happened? And that's just the explanation they gave me, so. They didn't come up with anything as far as any plan for any removing or coming with us or coming to the town and the village of Nelsonville, because it covers all three of us. So again, unless I call every so often, you might not hear nothing for a while on that, but anyway, they didn't see any problem with the painting that was on Main Street, put it that way, driveway, 15 feet from a fire hydrant. I'm not sure. So,
Thanks.
Segue to lighting.
Please.
On the non-holiday side, Bruce and I met with Joe Hecht from Central Hudson and identified specifically 3 poles that should be replaced. And we also, the light in front of Le Bouchon across the street here cycles, so it goes off and flashes, and it's annoying and not really safe. So that was earmarked to be changed. The LED program's gotten pushed back. They're waiting for Energy Commission asked them for rates, and they didn't really have them because if they put up all these expensive lights and then they get less money for the usage, they're not in a rush to do that. So that was on the non-holiday side. On the holiday side, there were 3 samples up. Got quite a bit of comment. We've decided on the one in front of the clock shop. We have proposals or estimates from 5 different companies. No one could give us the wreath that looks like that with the lights that it has for the money that it is. And so we hope to buy at least 12. We need 13, but because the delivery got messed up of the sample, he gave it to us. So
How much are they?
they are $400 a piece. So with one free in there, it ends up being like $370.
How much were they, are these the same ones that we had last year?
No, no.
Um,
The ones that we had, the original light is in front of C&E, and it has 40 colored bulbs. The light on the corner of High Street is a new piece that has 40 C7 white LEDs, and it lists for $520. It's really not what we're looking for, but in addition, it's more expensive.
And describe the one in front of the clock shop, I don't.
It has
remember.
170 LED bulbs that just twinkle. They're beautiful.
Are they the white lights?
All white, all white.
It's very New Englandy.
Well, we were looking for the It's a Wonderful Life, Currier and Ives effect, you know.
How much were the ones that are the green with the 3 candles?
That's the 520. The new one is 520.
And
The
why
old
were
one,
they
the old
so
ones are taken from our
little?
strands that went across Main Street.
Oh, I see. And we're not using those?
No, we're using all of them.
We're using all of them.
And
We're
we're adding to them?
repurposing all the old wreaths because we need 27, I think it is. So we're repurposing all the old wreaths. We are probably going to go on bulbs.com and buy some white C7s at the least expensive price and just replace the
Find
bulbs.
yourself all winter long.
Actually, Andrew said, I said, Andrew, do them in the shed. He said, no, I'll do them in the pole. I said, better
Be up
do it
there
while
for
it's
a while.
warm. Do it this week. But anyway, so all the bulbs in the old wreaths will be changed. So all of the wreaths will have white light. And I'm not sure whether, the design part of it is to do the same across from each other or alternate. But in any case, every pole should have a light. And I've sent out an appeal letter. People have been very generous. I would like to give a plug to Archipelago at Home for giving us $1,000.
Great.
So if you need something for the holidays, that's where to buy it.
3 lights, three wreaths.
That's 3 wreaths. Yeah, people have been extremely, extremely generous. And, in their commitment and I hope follow up. So we hope not to ask for anything. We're not asking for anything for lights. We will buy what we can buy, and that's that. In terms of the electrical work, I think there was something about splitting it between the 2 budgets, but if we can give you the money for that, we would like to do that. And so that only leaves trying to do something at the top of the hill, and the plan for that is in a state of flux, and I should know by the next meeting. I could probably tell you what we're doing.
I don't think the budget allows for the remainder of the poles to be wired. I think we're short this year for what we put in our budget.
We can cover it.
We're talking about 12,000, we're only about to do 3.
$7,600 is Andrew's quote.
What's that?
$7,600.
That's his final quote.
That's his final quote.
But that's not including the, maybe we only budgeted 3,000, so we need 3,900, or 4,900,
We'll have
sorry. Yeah, okay. But as far as the poles that we looked at, those 5 poles were ones that may have been in line with the CHA project, that we want to try to get Central Hudson to change. The one across the street on the corner by the French restaurant here, the one in front of Carolyn's Flower Shop, there's 5 of them that are in that kind of condition. But Central Hudson, the monies that were planned for those 5 were moved upstate a little longer, or a little farther rather, and it had to be an emergency situation. So he came down and looked at our maps for the CHA project to see if he could go back and say, Central Hudson, we should consider these poles in the near future, and he's supposed to get back to us on that, just so the board knows that that's part of that site visit we did, so. Anyway, in preparation for next spring when the sidewalks are finally worked on.
Oh, and because you're going into trees, I also am going to work on getting the lights out of the trees, because if it goes in another year, it's not good for the trees.
No, it's not. Were what's the chamber gonna follow up with the individual members who?
I'm not really sure how it's going to happen, but I promise you it's going to
At
happen.
this stage of the game,
It's great.
plug it in for this year.
No. They take away from the whole streetscape to light those. It's hideous.
Will be visual discord.
Tree
It's a
advisory
wonderful
committee.
life.
Let's see. Tuesday, October 28th, we talked about scheduling the joint meeting between the Tree Advisory Committee and the Village Board to discuss the proposed ordinance. And I just wanted to confirm that that's still on your schedule for the 28th. Is that?
Yes.
Okay, great. And on this Saturday, Saturday morning, George Profis, the regional forester from DEC for our region, will come to the village and hold a root pruning workshop. Residents are invited to assemble Saturday morning at 9 a.m. On High Street, across from the Tots Park. And we'll take a look at a sample tree, and we'll probably be taking a look at the very large ginkgo out here on Main Street that has been identified as a root prune concern for a number of years now. And that's that for the advisory
Cool.
committee.
Thank you. Report of the Mayor and Board of Trustees. Trustee Fatty?
Regarding the booth at the foot of Main Street and the maintenance and cleaning issues, I did send you an email. Subsequently, I've talked to a couple people, and I'm going to send out an appeal letter to some of the nonprofits, all of the nonprofits that use the booth, and see if they will not consider contributing to its upkeep and cleanliness, because they derive a lot of benefit. My father had 321 people at the booth between Saturday and Sunday. That didn't include Monday. So it's the amount of traffic going to that booth, it would behoove all parties to, people do that. And if the appeal doesn't work,
Yeah.
then
it
something
might
else
be-
might.
It might be worthwhile considering a coin-operated entry to the bathrooms. You know, they have those in other large cities, and I don't know.
Yeah.
If we're struggling, I mean, if we're hat in hand here we're hat in hand for our lighting, we're hat in hand for our emergency services,
Yeah.
for our public restroom cleaning, and we all know that tourism is being promoted here in our community. So
I'm asking wherever I
Yeah.
possibly
well, I guess
can.
my point is that we should be able to rely on a steady income and not have to go hat in hand all the
Sure,
time.
get it.
So
If we're going to put a coin-operated on the toilets, then we're going to have to talk about parking meters.
well,
Bruce
okay.
had
let's talk about those too. Sure.
Bruce has followed up with
Pay
the gentleman offered to clean, not for free, of course.
No, but
So
this would pay for.
we'll workshop. We'll put
My
that
dad said that Thursdays would be the best day.
on Thursdays. Okay. We'll have information ready for
Do you want to do that next Tuesday? Talk about is that good, Bruce?
A couple of other things. I got a complaint from a resident on Lower Main about the musician down there that plays the same 3 songs incessantly, and apparently they have made it known, but there's really nothing we can do except that the person is selling CDs, and with that in mind, I was wondering if we have an issue with the vendor's license and we could quite possibly move him.
We'll take a look.
Okay, so that's one thing. And the other thing, in a conversation with Ralph earlier in the week, we decided I'd look into some simple work order form, so that from now on, when something gets done, we don't go, who did that? How'd that get done? So,
Do we do that?
We don't yet, and it stemmed from the
I meant, do we ask who did that? How did that get done?
yes.
sometimes, yeah.
Oh, yes, we do.
And just to have some historical, documentation about how something got done and
Right,
who did it.
and what
It's
had
just
happened is
very
the-
simple,
the-
nothing.
When the bathroom filled up, I was away, and
Sounds awful.
there was almost a 3-way conversation between myself, Bruce, and Catherine. And it was just really
Greg.
and Greg, right? Started with Greg, and and then we had tracked down who we thought would be able to do it. They weren't unavailable. We got somebody else, and then we need them to follow up and finish what they started over the weekend. And it was just kind of so it's
So I'm working on
I
that.
mean, it goes through a lot of issues we've
It
talked
does.
about tonight, from the cemeteries to the firehouse to everything, so,
Lines painted.
yeah.
And the other thing was that Bruce sent me a text the other day about docking. And it was someone who wanted to spend the night. In the end, they didn't spend the night, but, in research, the transient docking fee on the river is $2 a foot. And, if someone impromptu wants to stop on our dock and, shop or have lunch or whatever they want to do, there's not always a lot of time to find somebody to say yes or no, or to figure out what the rate is. So again, in sort of trying to standardize things, can we just come up with a $2 a foot or whatever we think appropriate all the time?
But we do have a $2 a
That's
foot.
what we agreed on, the $2 foot for a Friday, because we all agreed on that.
But that was for Friday, and then next week could be something else if we don't standardize it.
Well, I think, no, what we standardized, Catherine, was I thought Monday through Friday would be $2 and the weekends would be $3. That's strictly with C Street.
That's commercial, that's different.
Every other request would be handled independently. This request came in on Wednesday or Thursday or whatever it was, and we were trying to communicate with the person. And I asked Mary to make sure they got the request sent to us, meaning the official request for docking. And we're waiting still on Friday at noontime for that request. That's where I started texting the board, because the boat was gonna be coming in. I said, well, I'm not gonna wait any longer. It's just all communication. So normally we don't get those last minute requests. They should be within enough time to look at our schedule and make sure we don't have somebody in that night or early the next morning. And it was working out, meaning they were coming in Friday night, they're gonna be going by 10, C Street's coming at 11:30. So logistically, we knew it was gonna work. Why they didn't come up, I don't even know the answer right now, so.
It never showed after all that?
They never showed, so.
And the boats that are under
We charge them
34
anyway?
foot all go into they just go into the boat club area.
That boat was fairly large.
Yeah, no, I said, but the ones that are, because I know people call the restaurant, or they would call the chamber and say, how big a boat can I bring in? And the going number was always 34 foot. You couldn't come up with, anything else. And that was in the past. I don't know what
That's
they're,
at the front end of the boat club only allows that size of a
Right,
boat.
yeah.
Last week, I think it was last week, there was a big sailboat that docks up in Kingston. I don't know if you were down there to see that one. It's huge. It's a beautiful boat. And it moored, and they took a little boat into the dock, or into the boat club. So that's available as well, so to those short-term boats that have that access, to a little dinghy that they can bring into Cold Spring.
Do we want to consider? Do we want to consider changing the way we approach our boating permits so that we have a, sort of a standardized set of criteria that, when answered, either the rec committee or I hate to say it, Mary, or Mary could simply say, yes, you're entitled, you meet these standards, and you've answered yes to all of these, and we can issue a
I'd say
permit.
absolutely
Is that,
yes.
yeah, that's why I brought it up, because
I'd
we
say
can't
absolutely
keep
yes.
making it up as we go along. Every day it's a different boat,
Well,
it's a different answer.
I don't think we make it up as
Well,
we
I
go
don't-
along.
I don't mean to make it
we
sound-
have an established
Yeah,
fee
but-
schedule, and we
But
have
it should be
established requirements.
published, and people just
Right.
should know.
We did it this way purposely so to discourage last minute people from docking because of the nature of our docking. And
Well, and that goes to the question. One of the first questions I asked Bruce when he connected on Friday about the last minute was, well, let me remember here, is our dock only open for,
Transient.
boats of, educational
Historic.
interest and or passenger ferries? Are they sort of commercial in nature or an educational nature? Or are we allowing people with, private vessels to dock? And so I looked at the law, and there's no distinction. And I thought, oh, well, hey, good for them. They get to pull up at our main dock and come and have dinner. And but then I started thinking about if we were going to sort of automate the experience so that we don't all have to vote and look into that. Is that do we want to allow that? Do we want to continue allowing that, or is our main dock, our public dock, is it really for ferries and museums? I don't. I'm not answering the question. I'm just asking.
No, right. I think we should. I think it's a good idea, and it's revenue. But at the same time, if it becomes a problem, we have every right to say, look, we created something that has been abused, and you know we're going to go only to ferries in historic, you know. But I think it's worth a shot.
The early discussions we had on this, when we approved the docking down there, was strictly focused on those boats, meaning the River Rose or the
Sure,
Maid
sure.
or whatever.
Made of the Mist.
Made of the Mist, and it really not Made of the Mist, but it's a very similar boat. But it really came down to we were going to discuss each one of those proposals independently, and then eventually do what you're saying, put something together. This is the first time we had a private boat that we're aware was a large private boat, very large, 90 some odd feet, it's a very large boat, that wanted to come in and spend the night in Cold Spring. So when you get the request on a Wednesday, not via the actual request being faxed or emailed to Mary, you don't have all the information, but you know the boat's coming and you're saying, we got to try to work on this thing. So that's another one of those independent situations that we discussed tonight, and it's good that we're discussing, because maybe we'll get more requests like that. We set the standards on what boats we're going to allow and what we're not, and there's got to be ample time, you know. There's plenty of times when you're on the Hudson and you're just cruising up and you're hoping you can dock at a place like Cold Spring, you know.
Yeah, if you're traveling a 90-footer, I'm assuming you have a pretty much
good
well-mapped plan.
Yeah.
You know, that's not just,
And you can afford to stop
and
in
you
Cold
can,
Spring
right.
if you want to.
Okay, so,
we
yeah.
can continue to work on that.
Absolutely.
The season's over, other than a C Streak, you know.
Do any municipalities automate that? You know, like via website?
You can give Mary a marine radio in the office.
Well, that's one way. I've never seen it, but
Well,
I'm
it's-
not too. I don't
you know,
spend too much time on
The
the
smaller
river.
docks in Lake George is all automated.
Is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I
It's a regular parking meter.
There's docks at Newburgh that are like that too.
Yeah, it's absolutely yeah.
might be worth an investment. You know, well, something to think
Not
about.
for the main dock, I mean.
Yeah, no, we don't. Okay.
You get 91 footers. I mean,
Catherine, is that it?
A lot of quarters.
Do we want to put that on the schedule for
The 28th?
or the next week, the 21st? The 28th has two code amendment discussions.
I don't know what we haven't. I mean,
Next week is police hiring and cleaning bathrooms and prices. So far.
and Anna Giorgio,
And, the Anna Giorgio
I
letter.
think that may be big.
Oh, okay.
So 28 or
Or November thing,
4,
November 4?
28 or 4th. About the 4th.
How about November 4 for voting?
Yeah. Is that it for voting? Trustee Bowman?
Two quick things. I met with Jonathan Nettlefield for the fjord signage project. He's been trying to get a hold of you, I think. He said he was. Just
look.
talking about the fjord trail in general, and also about branding, sign proliferation. It kind of grew out of Gretchen Dykstra's time on the HDRB, when we were talking about all the different types of signs and the confusion to pedestrians and car traffic, and coming about with some kind of a master plan for signage and for marketing the fjord trail. Secondly, just to touch base on the Grove, I stopped by and I was talking to Steve Marino. I don't know if you've seen, he has the entire porch opened up and completely ready for the winter. So that section that I thought we were going to have to tear down, he's fixed it completely. Started to paint some of it already. Fixed something like 90% of the windows on the first floor, and all of the interior floors have been fortified and ready to be repaired. So I'd like to take the time to thank the rest of you for making the right decision, and it seems like that's headed in the right direction. So
He'll be on Cold Spring by candlelight soon.
hopefully,
Good.
I mean,
Not this year.
we were ready to hold a haunted house in it, but I think we're good now. But he's done a lot of great
Nice
work
to
up
see.
there, and I mean, it's really a family project. Him and his daughter are doing most of it, so
Yeah, the stones that ended up at the village garage were returned.
cool.
So I think at the fencing, we took back our fencing. So
Question about the signage, is that in advance of the town moving forward with their
It was
RFP for
basically
signage?
a sit down in Gretchen's office / shed in her backyard. going over a questionnaire of.
No.
You didn't hear that?
Head.
It's beautiful.
It's a
It's a lovely.
beautiful bungalow in the backyard.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Bungalow?
I don't know.
That's
what
not
you
even a
call it.
4-letter word. Oh my God. Anyway.
Anyway, questionnaire about. That was a good one. Questionnaire about what my thoughts were on the branding of the Fjord Trail, whether there's a way to better brand it or a better idea. What do people think of when they think of fjord?
And what do they think of?
No, anybody knows. I mean, I had to look it
It
up
has kind
myself.
of a European meaning and a
Yeah.
geographical meaning of
Yeah.
where the rivers come together there, or where the mountains come together and form kind of this lake. Questions about signage. We laid out all the different signs from things that the federal government uses, the state uses, that we use locally, that private or not-for-profit organizations use, and trying to see if there was some kind of medium standard that you come about to brand it. Talk about parking as well, along 9D.
And no parking signs?
No, maybe the state, I mean, even thinking ahead to a day permit use or something like that, making more defined parking areas that are more manageable so that it's not sprawling all up and down 9D. I mean, in my opinion, it's gotten to the point now where it's become an environmental impact where, the trail is really starting to get to the point where it's eroding off of the mountain, and I mean, pretty soon it's just gonna be you're climbing up a dirt hill. I mean,
I think in some spots it's like that. It's very
Yeah,
bald.
there's no
no, it is.
Yeah.
no vegetation left. It's not to beat this subject, but it's when you say, "Oh, come here," even though we can't handle all you now, and now they opened the floodgates, and anyway. Is that it,
Yes.
Trustee Hawkins?
I followed after after last week when Marie Early had attended and contributed to our discussion about the scope of work for the zoning update committee. I followed up with Jamie Ethier of the Department of State, who confirmed that, in fact, the amendments that are itemized in the scope of work that were included by Green Plan in their application for the NYSERDA grant and now in that scope of work are the amendments that the village needs to process and adopt in order to move the LWRP forward. So I was heartened to hear that because I was concerned after Marie had said that she was not familiar with that being the sum and substance of the updates. And second, we talked about asking the Zoning Update Committee to start meeting. But then Mary heard from one of the appointees, Mike Armstrong, who had a request, and I think it's a worthwhile one, that we formally adopt a resolution that creates this committee, that it establishes terms, that sets out the purpose and the mandate of the committee, identifies the sort of their role in a way similar to what the village did in the fall of 2006 when the village created the special board for the comprehensive plan. And it's sort of a meaty document. Mary dug it up for me, and I can share it with everyone. But maybe, can we add that to next week? Or not? I don't know.
Yeah, it's fine. We can squeeze it in. If not, we'll bump it.
We get that forwarded to each of us.
Yeah, I can do that right now, in fact.
Just to go over what you talked to Jamie Ethier about.
Yeah.
So process and adopt every one of those amendments in order to move the LWRP forward, or just consider?
No. The question to him was, are there any other amendments above and beyond the 25 that are in the NYSERDA grant that the Department of State wants the village to adopt before it can approve or accept our LWRP? And he said no, there were none. So those are the issues that we need to look at, and in order for the LWRP to be moved forward, those issues have to be addressed or they have to be addressed in our code, or the LWRP will need to be revised to remove those aspects so that the LWRP as amended can move forward, because the, say, 24 amendments have been adopted. The local waterfront revitalization strategy document was submitted to the DOS, and the DOS looked at our code and compared it to what this vision document said, and said, well, your code doesn't now support what's going to be in your LWRP. So the important thing about this amendment making process is that we actually make that final decision about what in this LWRP we're actually going to implement. So if we don't want to implement, say, the street lighting, changes to street lighting standards or whatever, well, then we would, in order to get our LWRP accepted by the Department of State, we'd have to take that element out of the LWRP. Or any, if there are expectations and a desire for certain green building to occur, green development to occur, as outlined in the LWRS, if amendments supporting that or making that happen don't get adopted, then those aspects would have to be removed.
Have we gotten the final contract?
We have received a red line from them that they've asked us to get back to them about, and they had some questions about we told them that Barton LaJudas had been appointed, and so they were going to get back to us about changes that they would make to reflect that. So, and I think that's it for me.
Okay. Trustee Campbell?
The only thing that's, again, it's a request that came in last week on the 8th. And the subject is Aston Martin driving experience. And what it is, I didn't write down all the notes, but it's a request that we haven't gotten before, but it's requesting parking on Main Street. Upcoming, my company will be hosting a trip coming down New England for the VIP guests. We will be doing a 5-day long foliage New England drive, passing through Cold Spring on October 16th, which is this Thursday, for approximately 2 hours, at 3 o'clock to 5, to explore the village, shop, and take in the sights. As we will be traveling with high-end luxury vehicles as part of the unique experience, it is extremely important to have designated parking only for the requested time on the 16th, again, 2 hours. I grew up in Garrison, so I'm very familiar with Cold Spring, and know that only municipal parking is next to Riverview Restaurant. Otherwise, we'd like to have guaranteed parking. I talked to George Kane briefly about this, and he just wanted me to bring it up to the board's attention tonight. He recommended if we did anything, that it may be from on the south side of Maine, just below the red light. But there's 8 Aston Martin vehicles on this trip. So if the
What
board,
time would they be coming?
3 o'clock. So if it's not that location and you think it might set up something for the future, then if the board can discuss it, I'd like to be able to get back to her to say, hey, we can.
Well, I mean, that is probably the best location because it's usually has the most spaces available.
And they're small, and they'll fit in those unmarked spaces.
Tell Kane to have the radar guns ready.
Yeah.
The special parking meters.
I mean, yeah.
Special moves for
it's nice to
Rushing the
accommodate.
process.
It is nice to accommodate special requests, but I mean,
So what would it be?
we
From the
have
top of the hill?
luxury. A big deal. They have luxury cars. I mean, I don't know.
Where is it that they want to park?
Maybe
right
somebody
by
with
St. Mary's,
Volkswagens will
the
ask
entire-
next.
Light a red light down, almost to the jewelry store.
Yeah, you could fit them all the way from the driveway by JoJo's, you know, but.
Well, they could go down lower.
I know.
It doesn't matter. It's got to be blocked off, though. That's all. That's the reason for it. Where will we block off 8 spots?
What's the benefit to the village?
When is this?
There isn't. I don't believe there is. No, to the village
To
itself.
shop?
It's just the fact that they're going to be here
Yeah,
and eat.
3 to
and
5, they're gonna shop.
Okay.
Thur-
3 to 5
Thursday
they're
the-
gonna shop.
Thursday the 18th.
So we're
Thursday the
It's
16th.
supposed to pour.
so it's
just for the
It's
record.
going to rain pretty heavy that day too. Yeah.
oh then yeah I'm in.
Say yes.
Well,
I make a motion.
would it be unusual to charge people for reserving this kind of a?
Public street.
Yeah, it's a,
Yeah, you can't.
It's a public street.
Well, then how can we reserve them?
This brings
I
so many
think that-
things
yeah,
together.
my head-
I think that we can't do it.
This goes from red rum, which we started the year with, to, you know, docking of a private boat on the dock. I mean,
Well, the docking of the private boat
There's
on
a
the
week's
dock
worth
is
of
something that we,
it's
that's not the same as this.
it's
This is
setting a
about.
precedent, though, of, you
I
know,
don't think we can
preferred
do this.
parking for.
No,
I don't-
and George brought that up, and the only other time we do it is when somebody is moving, we allow a moving van to come in, and we block off the traffic, or parking, or a dumpster
We
when
do?
they're doing renovations. We have done that for moving vans.
Yeah.
Don't moving vans are just sort of big enough, they ply it out of the way. I don't think we can do this.
I mean, did they
But-
specifically request spots on Main Street?
No, they didn't.
I mean,
I just brought
Mayor's
up
Park
if there
has
was
plenty
something-
of parking away from everything else. There's no
well,
baseballs
that's-
being hit or anything down there.
They're welcome to park where they can find parking.
Yeah.
you know you can park wherever you want. If you want 8 spots, we'll give you 8 spots at Mayor's Park.
Hey, I have no
I
problem
mean,
with
because
that.
that's not public street parking. That would be ours. How does that work?
Is there a game of any kind?
There's
Well, what's
nothing
the,
on Thursdays.
what are they looking to promo the,
I don't know. They probably just want to show up their
Road
cars at night to
Right.
send us.
There are Porsche clubs and there's
Yeah,
a Lamborghini club that was here a few weeks ago. They just parked wherever they could.
Why don't we encourage them to, you know,
Yeah. find your own
lease
spot.
space lease the like the pavilion or you know, the Mayor's Park Pavilion.
I'm sure they could park right at the tennis courts and walk down. And there's a couple of places they can park. There's not a big deal on a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah,
But
that's,
Main Street might be.
I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, we
Food
should
Town.
we should definitely
you
well into Marion Avenue.
Benedict
Well,
Road.
Around the loop at St. Mary's and make a donation to the church.
I don't know, make a donation to the village.
I said we welcome them, but at this point in time, we don't feel it's a good idea to.
I would just say that it's a precedent that we haven't set
Yeah.
previously and that there's plenty of public parking to be had at Mayor's Park or elsewhere. And that,
All right, that's why I brought it up, just to get the board's thoughts on it, so that's what I'll tell them. Mayor's Park or,
I mean, I was just walking through Fishkill this past weekend.
Encourage them to go to Tom's restaurant and have Tom set aside his
Tom
private
does
private
Got
do that
11
on
spots.
occasion,
$2 or $3
so
million worth of automobile or something.
Right. He'd like that.
He'd like that.
even Jimmy at Riverview might look into doing it too.
Yeah.
guys, just the legal issue is, you know, are you using, you know, some sort of municipal funds for private purposes? And that's really the question, is it, you know, is it really just an accommodation? And so, you know, if I knew sooner, I would have had the answer ready for you guys to go to say, hey, look, you know, this
I mean,
is
yeah.
you know, to confirm whether or not we're making a bigger deal out of something than otherwise, or you know, are we really doing something that's just not right?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can find something short and sweet, get back to us. Otherwise, tell them, you know, we'll welcome and do what we can for them. But
I think Tom Wilson's a good idea. I'll call
until
Tom.
we know it's not legal, we'll, you know, but we will absolutely, you will absolutely help them
I don't have any
find a
problem
spot.
with that.
Thanks. What
All right.
else? Is that it?
That's it from me, yeah.
The only thing I have is the Philson Garden Club. As promised, Philson Garden Club planted the bed at 9D at Fair Street Sunday, October 5th. It was a beautiful day to plant a garden. They were done by 12:30 p.m. They have photos for us. They are waiting for signs. They are putting up a silt fence that the DOT has approved as long as they keep close to the bed, which will try to help protect the plants from salt and runoff from the road. They'll be watering regularly. That's it for now. Hope everyone will be pleased. Let me know if you hear anything positive, I hope. Thank you again for being so helpful throughout the process. You were so wonderful to me. This is, of course, to Mary, not to me. You were so wonderful to me, and I so appreciate it.
You are wonderful, Mary.
Looking forward to seeing you around town.
Did they send you flowers?
They did. No.
I was
They,
just guessing there.
yeah, so,
Less than $75 worth.
So, on behalf of myself, I would like to thank the Phillipstown Garden Club and Mary for the efforts down there. It does look very nice.
Did you say on behalf of yourself, not on behalf of the entire board?
You guys are with me
We're with you.
on behalf of myself and the entire village board, and Mary, of course. Thank you to the Garden Club. That's it for me. Correspondence. From New York State Unified Court System, requesting that you provide a copy of your most recent audit, calendar year 2013 or fiscal year ending 14, examination from your local courts records. Did we already send this, Mary?
It's delayed a year, so we sent them,
Okay.
and it's based on fiscal year, so this is about the
Or
time
year.
that it's performed.
But we're on top of this.
Two of the trustees have to do the audit.
Okay.
Bruce could perhaps speak, he's done it in the past.
Yeah, I've done it for the past 5 to 6 years, actually. Chuck helped me the past 3. So,
I can
I
work
don't-
on that with you if you want,
Okay. So,
or not,
thank you.
as the case may be. I mean, what just happened?
So who's doing it?
Who's doing it? I said I can help Bruce. Oh, did you already say? You do it. You do it. No, I don't want to do it if you do it. Go.
Bruce,
Bruce
find
and
someone to
Michael.
help you do it.
yeah, I'll find somebody.
Thank
Find
you.
Michael. Michael wants to do it.
I
How much
Catherine
time-
was
how
gonna
much-
do it as part of the bills or something.
When do we, how much time does it take?
It really only takes a couple of hours.
But this
Kathy's
is not.
Kathy's got everything in
this
order,
is-
so it's fairly easy. She
Court
will-
records
so-
Just tell me when you want to do it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The next may concern reference made to our letter August 23rd. This is a letter from the Jim Haywood Real Estate Services that represent build maintenance for Springbrook Apartments. They have a tree that is growing in the brook. That their opinion, they believe that we have some onus of the tree because we have an easement of that brook for drainage purposes. We believe as we do have an easement, that doesn't mean that we are responsible for trimming the tree that grows in that easement. So,
I
Please.
told Ralph, I spoke to Jim Haywood, and there is an easement and right-of-way for water to drain through the stream that runs through their property. We have the right to change the bed of the stream. We can widen, dredge, or change the bed of the stream to permit the flow of water, but we don't have any maintenance obligations that go along with it. So it's not flooding.
And I'm assuming the tree's not growing in the middle of the stream.
Could be. I don't know. I haven't seen
it's
it.
on the bank, right?
It's likely to be on the side of the,
When I first
not in the
read it, I
bed.
thought it was a tree that was down that was
Right.
blocking.
That's
the
what I
water.
thought. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think really there, and Jim's position was that Jim didn't have essentially, he just needed to report back to the board whether it was their responsibility or ours. But I'm not seeing anything that makes it ours.
No.
And it's theirs.
Right, and again, I mean, this is another case in point where, we would love to trim the tree for them and help them, but it's just, it's taxpayers' money in a position, on private property that we only have an easement.
If it was part of our regular
Right.
program for maintenance, for the flow of water.
Sure. Or we were flush with money, I would say,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah, well, that's the
consider
other
it,
thing.
but unfortunately, so that's what that's all about. He's going to report to his board. I'm assuming we're going to hear unhappy
You'll all
notes
be voted out in
from
March.
Springfield.
Springbrook is a big area.
It is. There's a lot of people there. Notice of availability of state funds. Arbor Day Community Grant, New York State Urban Forestry Council is pleased to announce available funding for projects in small communities. Population up to 65,000. Well, I think we're a little short of that. To have Arbor Day event and begin community forestry program. The funding is provided by the USDA Forest Service and the New York State DEC Urban Forestry Program. Grants of $1,000 are rewarded to communities. If you want to
Yeah.
take care of that and pass it along to our wonderful tree committee and see if they can help us find some money. That appears to be it for correspondence. Old business, I don't have anything. New business, winter parking regulations. Legal notice, I'm assuming is as if we adopt, this will be the legal notice. Beginning November 15th, 2014, and continuing to April 15th, 2015, seasonal parking restrictions will take effect pursuant to Section 12615 and 12636 of the Village Code. These restrictions prohibit all overnight parking between hours of 12:01 a.m. and 6 a.m. The Village Board has agreed to a call-in program as an optional method of seasonal parking control. Therefore, each day from 5 p.m. on, telephone message will be available at 265-48883, the Village Highway Garage, to notify the caller whether the seasonal off-street parking will be enforced for that evening. The general ban on the parking will remain in effect. However, the call-in method is intended to limit the need for off-street parking to snow emergencies. It is important that a telephone call is made during and after snowstorms because snow emergencies are not limited to the day of the storm and can extend to the following day or days. The decision of the Village Board is to intend to assist all Village residents who find off-street parking a problem, but everyone must understand the consequences of receiving a parking ticket if the rules set forth are not adhered to. Do you have any questions about whether to park overnight during the winter season? You are strongly advised to follow the general rule, remove your car from the street. Pulling of vehicles may be required during snow emergencies at the owner's expense. Areas provided for seasonal off-street parking are Campbell Avenue south of the boulevard and south side of the boulevard. Signs will be marked as designated areas. Pursuant to Village Code, Section 108-21, the owner and or occupant of each and every building and lot in the village shall keep in full width of the sidewalk free of snow and ice. When ice and walk cannot be removed, it shall be covered with sand and other materials not detrimental to concrete, such as calcium chloride, in such a manner as will enable persons to walk thereon with safety. Rock salt or salt-based materials shall not be used. Clearing of such sidewalks should begin within reasonable time during and after snow accumulation. Summonses will be issued to violators.
Motion to post.
Okay. Under discussion, there was great length of discussion at the end of last season about the 265-48883 and the highway department actually doing the posting. Myself, working with Ed and George Kane, thought that maybe it'd be better that the police set the rules for overnight parking with the assistance of Ed. This way there is none of that, well, I thought Ed wanted it, and vice versa. I mean, when we were cleaning the streets last year, Ed had put on no parking for, it was 3 weeks, whether they were doing your street or not. And George felt that was unfair to A, the residents, and B, his officers, because they were,
They had an enforcement issue.
They had an enforcement issue or this issue with, they felt, bad for the people that weren't allowed to park on the street for literally no reason because the highway department wasn't getting to it that night. So I'm not sure if we were changing the number to a police number, have a separate number. George wanted to investigate, the police phone number, and also his ability to make notification via website. In addition to, he has easier access than Ed does. So I don't know if we want to.
I think web would be very useful.
Yeah. So my question is.
Question.
Yes.
Would it be? Would there be an email blast? Would that be?
These are all things that.
Posting a banner on the
website? These are all things that we wanted to minimum. The very very least, we thought the best idea was to change the telephone sequence, whether it was a different location, but definitely posted by police, which would probably change that number.
Nobody in the PD has the ability to post to the website, right? The only other person is Greg.
Right.
So
that might be an issue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, but I think we should, let's see, with this one, because we're afraid the number's gonna change, in the restriction, not the restrictions, but,
Oh, in the notice?
yeah, the notice is going to change, could potentially change.
You could approve it subject to. I mean,
Okay.
it doesn't need to be
Okay, so for this one,
in general
Okay, so-
form.
I think that's fair. Is that okay? That's
Do you
okay?
have to change the motion? Sorry.
Please.
I withdraw my motion, and I make a new motion to post this notice, but subject to possible change in the phone number.
Okay, is this gonna rescind in,
Oh,
Rescind my second to the first motion and make a second to the second motion.
okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
Okay. Parking. So hopefully we can make that easier. There were, the usual.
Oh, is this a roll call?
The next one is the actual resolution. This is the
Oh,
notice.
this is for Marion and Penny.
The next one, resolution number 29 of 2014. Whereas the Village of Cold Spring has on-street parking regulations which limit or prohibit on-street parking at certain times and locations. And whereas the Village of Cold Spring conducts snow clearing on its streets during winter months, and whereas snow clearing activity in the vicinity of Marion Avenue and Benedict Road could be better conducted and coordinated with local residents, the village's on-street parking regulations are suspended on the dead-end portion of Marion Avenue, south of Benedict Road, to allow parked vehicles to remain thereon. And now, therefore, be it resolved as follows: the Village Board of the Village of Cold Spring hereby suspends on-street parking regulations for the dead-end portion of Marion Avenue, south of Benedict Road, until April 15th, 2015, and 2. Copies of the resolution shall be posted at the Village Hall and provided to the Village Police Department forthwith.
So moved.
Why are we doing this?
Basically, it opens another place for that section of town where people can park off street. So that end they can park there, like, and this is how many years now, Mary?
Probably.
I used to live there. I'm thinking of what happens in a big snowstorm when people don't move their cars, and now you've blocked in the residents that live in that apartment building on Marion Avenue. That's my only
I think they were the ones that were,
requested it.
yeah.
Because Donnie Anatelli usually plows that road anyway.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Trustee Campbell,
Yes.
Trustee Hawkins,
Yes.
Trustee Bowman,
Yes.
Trustee Fatty.
Yes.
I vote aye. Schedule monthly meeting for November 11th. The monthly meeting falls on Veterans Day.
Will you be in Boston running the marathon?
Running? No. Not the marathon, anyway. I mean, obviously, the ability to have it is, if we so choose, or we can do the night before, the week before, the week after. Any preference?
Well, not the 18th, no.
Well, the 4th is election day. The 11th
Right.
is
That's
Veterans
not good.
Day.
It's.
I mean, we could do it on the Wednesday or the Monday. I mean,
You working Wednesday?
I'm actually working Veterans Day. No offense, but as a holiday, I'm not taking that off. Unless, of course, I'm outnumbered then.
Oh, you want to do are you free the 10th?
Yes. Okay, the 10th?
Sure.
Good. Okay. Mary, November 10th? We just got to verify with court.
Oh,
Yeah, Monday night might be tough.
whenever we do this,
Do you want me to go and look at the schedule for the court? I got it in the room there.
Wednesday the
12th?
12th? That might conflict
you
with,
available?
There's schedules on the website.
I have it. Okay.
19.
There's no court on the
Go
10th?
for the 10th.
There's no court on the 10th. Everybody good?
Bruce, come back, we're gonna do the 10th.
Bruce?
Can you do the 10th?
Court's on the 3rd.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
Okay. So the 10th it is.
okay.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else have any new business? Oh, where's Bruce? Yeah?
Just getting back to the negotiations coming up with Mike. Could we get a copy of the contract from last year?
Oh, sure.
Oh, the retainer agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so my understanding is it was to the end of the year and then to the end of the fiscal year, or?
We've just been month to month since last March.
Okay.
Or
Or
is that
since May.
Since
Since
May.
the end
That
of
that
May.
that was it. Since May.
Change date?
Okay.